Don't ever stop learning. Never stop learning. Always be seeking more logical, reasonable conclusions, but always under the overall guidance of intuition and that inner voice of your higher self. Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. Well, in my last video, we talked about intuition, what it was and how it worked. And today I want to talk very specifically about how to improve your intuition. Now, I know for a lot of folks out there, you are thinking, well, I just don't have intuition. I don't seem to ever hear that. Or if I do, it's too late and I didn't follow it and I wish I had of, or I don't understand. It's just all a mystery to me, and intuition stuff, I don't think it's for me. But in this video, I want to tell you that it is for you. Every human being alive who's ever lived has intuition. And if you'll learn that voice, if you'll tune into it, and you can, I'm going to tell you how here, if you'll tune into that voice, your life will be far safer and I believe far better. Before we do, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my own journey in intuition and learning to hear the inner voice of my higher self. That's kind of how I think of it. As I've told you before, in 1995, I went through a divorce. My life was a complete disaster. Financially, I couldn't survive. I had to move into the van. I became a van dweller. I was such at a low point. I felt I was such a total loser at life, total failure at life, that I had to find a new way to live, and I started following a new spiritual path. So I started following this spiritual path, and one of the things they told me was, well, think about this. You have completely messed up your life. And I said, absolutely right. My life is a total disaster. I am a failure as a human being, a complete loser. And so I have to start all over. And they said, okay, well, follow this path. You can start all over. The first thing you have to understand is that there's something greater than yourself who will help you now. You don't have to do it alone. You can't do it alone. I believe that. I was in such a deep hole that I knew I couldn't dig out of this hole by myself. So I'm spiritually oriented, always have been. I've been very religious all my life. I just thought that the religion I'd been following had failed me, and so I was going to need to follow a different spiritual path. And so I said, okay, I can easily do that. I think I can easily turn my will in my life over to the care of something greater than myself that will pull me out of this hole. But one of the things that they said is, that's fine. If you do that, this higher power, whatever you conceive it to be, it's your own conception, it will pull you out of the hole. But you've got to be careful that you just don't start digging a new hole. That's what had happened all my life. So they suggested, well, maybe what you really need is a new manager in your life. Maybe you're not really a very good manager of your own life. Maybe you need to hear an inner voice that will guide you better than you are. That made perfect sense to me. And from that day to this, I have tried to rely on an inner voice. And I believe, I just define it as coming from a loving, compassionate, all-knowing, all-wise universe that only wants the best for me. That's how I define it. I have no other definition. I'm not telling you what your definition should be. That's my definition. Really simple. I realized that this all-loving universe loved me more than I could ever love myself. In fact, I realized I didn't love myself at all, and I'm not sure I'm capable of loving myself. But I soon discovered, by trial and error, that this all-loving universe did love me. And if I turned my life over to this all-loving universe, then good things happened. Inevitably, invariably. And when there were bad things, I could ultimately see how they led to good things. So that is what I've been doing. My last 27 years of my life have been devoted to following a higher power and a voice of intuition. We can call it intuition and inner knowing. an inner guidance that loved me more than I loved myself, that had a far bigger picture, far more knowledge, far more understanding. And this has been the result, 100% the result. Every time I followed a higher power, my life went incredibly, incredibly well. Every time I've listened to the voice of whatever it is that's out there, good things have happened. All I had to do was obey. That's all. That's all I've ever done. And every time I convinced myself that the voice of my own ego was that voice, things have gone terribly wrong. And there's been some really terribly wrong things in the last 27 years. Okay, now, I know most of you that's way too much spiritual stuff for most of you. You don't want anything to do with that. I don't want, okay, well, I can manage my own life. Okay, can you? Is that why you're listening to a video on how to follow your intuition? Okay, let's assume that you've done a really good job of managing your life, and you definitely should continue being the manager of your life. That's fine. I understand that. At least listen about how to improve your intuition so that you can be safer. Now, let me give you 8 steps to how you can improve your evolutionary intuition, if that's what you believe, or your spiritual intuition, if that's what you believe. And I'm going to give you quotes because I think these are some really good quotes. Everyone who wills can hear the inner voice. It is within everyone. That was Mahatma Gandhi. So he says that everyone who wills can hear the inner voice. But you have to will it. You have to make a decision. I want to learn how to hear my intuition. One more quote here. Trusting your gut, using your sixth sense, having a hunch, these are all ways of describing your built-in intuition or guidance system. I like that. It's a guidance system. We all have it. In fact, your gut makes more neurochemicals than your brain. Now, I had never heard that before, so I looked it up, and she's absolutely right. The bacteria in your gut produce 90% of the serotonin in your body, and it passes in different ways from your gut into your brain. Maintaining this connection is super, super important to your well-being, and beyond that, to your safety, and beyond that, I believe, to your spiritual success in life. Some of you may feel you have lost your gut brain, but there are many ways to get it back. Some of you may feel you have lost your gut brain, and I know a lot of you do, but there are many ways to get it back. Simply, and this is the important phrase here, simply desiring to develop your intuition or regain it, it is a good start. And that was Christiane Northrup. The second step is that you can't be distracted, and I know all too well. I've been doing this for 27 years, devoted myself to learning how to live by an inner voice, a higher power, or just by your gut. Then it's really hard not to be distracted, mainly by your ego. And I'm going to give you a quote here about that. Your ego, all your life, your ego has been in charge of keeping you safe. It believes that's its purpose for existence, and it's the only thing that will keep you safe. So when you come along with the idea that I'm going to trust something besides your ego is going to rebel. Your ego is going to challenge it. It's going to fight back. It's going to yell louder and harder and more often. And you're just going to have to make the decision, I am going to quiet my thoughts and quiet my ego. The ego is always egocentric, of course. Me, me, me. And it's always lack. It always comes from a place of, I got to get more. So, some quotes. Everyone has the ability to tune into their intuition. However, it's easy for the voice of your intuition to be drowned out by the competing voices in your daily life, such as your family and friends, your daily responsibilities, and the voice of your ego. That was Tracy Dawn. So step number 3 is you have to end your dependence on your ego, your reasoning mind. Be determined to make your life into a life of revelation. That way your whole life can be magical and sacred. You can make your life a life of magic and sacred. You can either see everything as magic or nothing is magic, or everything is sacred and nothing is sacred. Okay, so this quote is from Eileen Caddy. Cease trying to work everything out with your minds. It will get you nowhere. Live by intuition and inspiration and let your whole life be a revelation. But this one is very important. Your intuitions knows what to do. The trick is getting your head to shut up so you can hear. Okay, number 4. Hard work is required. You must exercise your intuition. And here's the quote. It's from Lisa Prosen. Our intuition is like a muscle. We must practice listening to it. We must listen. We must quiet our mind and listen and trusting in its wisdom. Not only do you have to hear it, you have to trust it. And that's hard. For a lot of us, your ego doesn't want you to trust anything but it. Our intuition is like a muscle. We must practice listening to it and trusting its wisdom. When you take the time to ask and keep listening for the answer, being at peace becomes easy. And that's the key. You will find peace because you will have heard that voice of your intuition. Number 5, you must study your body and inner self to learn how your inner voice intuition speaks to you. No two of us here are in the same way. So how intuition works for me will probably be quite different than the way it works for you. And so I can't tell you what you should do. No one can tell you how to hear the voice of your own intuition. You're going to have to study it and listen. And in all of this, there's going to be a lot of trial and error. So here's the quote that goes along with that. It is imperative to listen to your intuition because you can head a blossoming crisis off at the pass. And this is absolutely true. If you come into a place, you're going to set up camp, you don't know it yet, but your either your lizard brain or loving universe has told you there's a danger here, and it's warning you before the danger arrives. And then back to the quote, you have to figure out how intuitive impulses feel to you and allow it to become your partner in your success. It will never lead you astray. Robert Tucker. You're in a partnership in living your best, safest, most successful, happiest life. That's what it wants. All right, number 6. You have to develop a thick skin against doubt and naysayers. So if people find out you're trying to develop your intuition and live by intuition, there are going to be a lot of people that think that's bad and they're and foolish and silly. And you're following a cult. That Bob guy's a cult. And believe me, I'm not telling you what to do or how to know. I don't know anything about what's best for you. Nothing. I just believe that common sense says that evolution has given us intuition for a reason, and all the world's religions and spiritual traditions teach that you'll hear a voice that will guide you and keep you safe. But there are going to be a lot of naysayers, and you're going to have a lot of doubt, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and every time you make a mistake, you're going to want to give up and just stop on this intuition foolishness. Being able to put your binders on, ignore negative opinions, and follow your strong intuition is what's validating to me. It's a great feeling to know you can trust your gut. Whitney Wolf. It's a great feeling to know you can trust your gut. One more quote here. You will never follow your own inner voice until you clear up the doubts in your mind. Roy T. Bennett. And again, it's just banging your head away at what seems like a closed door sometimes. Just keep pushing through the doubts, the fears, the mistakes, the times you do it wrong. You just got to push through. You will find lots of success along the way. So step number 7, be excited as you make intuition your partner in life. This is a quote from Jonas Salk. Some of us may not even know anymore who Jonas Salk was. Jonas Salk in the 40s invented a polio vaccine. So it was a devastating disease. Well, he found the vaccine for it. He was a rock star in his day. He refused to patent that vaccine. That's a creation. It's an intellectual work, property. He could have patented it and then made money on every dose that was ever getting out. He said, no, no patents. I want every human in the world who needs this to get it for as cheap as possible. One of the things that Jonas Salk said over and over and over again was intuition was key to his work in discovering that polio vaccine and all of his work ever since. He attributed a lot of the success and all of his accomplishments to intuition. And this is one of his quotes. It is always with excitement that I wake up in the morning wondering what my intuition will toss up to me, like gifts from the sea. I work with it and rely on it. It's my partner. Jonas Salk attributed intuition to his great success, but he made it his partner. He was excited about it. He woke up looking forward to what intuition could give to him as a gift that day. Finally, balance is required. Now, I've gone on and on about the importance and value of intuition, of following your inner voice, of listening to the voice of a higher power, or just following this evolutionary biology, whatever you call it. But balance is required. God gave me a brain, and if I fail to use it, then I'm being foolish. I've got a brain, I must use it. And this balance, this has been the hardest thing for me in the last 27 years. It's the hardest thing today. You have to always keep learning. If you ever stop learning, then your life as of progress and becoming better and being more useful, having a happier, better life, it's over. This quote is from Albert Einstein. He attributed all of his breakthrough successes to intuition and imagination, and then a lot of hard work. Knowledge is necessary too. A child with great intuition could not grow up to become something worthwhile in life without some knowledge. So if you're thinking in terms of just intuition, just following my inner voice, you've made a mistake. This thing's got to be equally involved. It's hard work to gain knowledge and experience, and using your brain, using your mind, using your thoughts. They're not enemies. However, there comes a point in everyone's life where only intuition can make the leap ahead without knowing precisely how. And he found that. Don't ever stop learning. Never stop learning. Always be seeking more logical, reasonable conclusions, but always under the overall guidance of intuition and that inner voice of your higher self. So that's what I have to say in lots and lots and lots of words. So I hope you can get something out of all of this and it makes some kind of sense to you. Let me know what you think. Is intuition, do you know the voice of your intuition? Have you followed it? Would you like to increase it? I'd love to hear from you. Do you think these steps would help you to become more intuitive and follow your voice of intuition even better? Let me know. I'd be glad to hear. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Brand new to the road or would just like to see everything in one place, Bob is offering classes on Skillshare and Udemy.com. It's a comprehensive nomad course that has 5.5 hours of content spread out in 19 classes with everything you need for your life on the road to make it the best possible experience it can be. Bob covers all the details from solar and internet options to where to park and how to stay clean, working on the road, traveling on a budget, and so much more. So we hope you'll check it out, the ultimate crash course to living on the road, how you can afford a life of travel and adventure.